Yes. So we go on with our next speaker, Michele, who will talk to us about the FBI improved image viewer. Please welcome Michele.
Thanks. So welcome to my talk about about using the FIM image viewer. Around 2006, I was a user of FBI, the image viewer for the Linux frame buffer. And I was fond of it, but at some point I thought I really need to have the Vim arrow keys into FBI. And I made a patch to FBI. At some point, I started realizing that I need something more, like some shortcut bindings or a small command line, commands, at some point a parser, auto-completion. So hack after hack, a fork came out of FBI, which I called FIM. So something which takes inspiration from the Vim text editor, the mat mail user, and well, mail user agent, and the shell languages. So what is nowadays FIM? It's a Unix tool for one task. One task which is viewing images. Viewing images is not editing images. So many people confound this. It's for command line users, people who like using the keyboard. It has a configuration file because it's nice to configure custom commands. It uses regular expressions, standard input, standard output, and it plays nice in scripts. So it's highly interoperable. The motto is like in Perl that there is more than one way to do it. I think FIM plays well with other hardware. There are functionalities for caching files or image from files to load them in advance via prefetching, so to spare a bit of I/O. And the user interface is quite minimal, so there are no menus, no buttons, at the moment. And it works at the moment with 4 graphical outputs styles. So pixels with X11, pixels with Linux frame buffer, and ASCII art with and without color. And it plays a bit nice under SSH or screen in different situations. So on this picture here, you see a pixel mode, character mode, and another character mode without the colors. So you select this when you start the program. Or you let it just being auto-detected by the environment variables. The basic invocation of FIM is more or less like what you expect from most programs. So you specify the files you want to open, and in the case of graphical files, the magic number will determine which decoder to use, not the file extension. However, if you want to open a directory or recursively a tree of directories, or perhaps even with a background load function, then filtering on file names will occur. Again, it's quite intuitive what the plus, minus, page up, page down keys do. So it's what you expect, and it is good. And what they do, usually, it's, of course, the binding is dynamic, so you can configure FIM to do different things. The defaults are for plus to call the magnify command, the internal magnify command, for minus the reduce command. Or apart from commands, you have also small actions which can be longer. It can be like a concatenation of, let's say, command argument, or even a small control flow expression. And yes, so it's quite rich what you can assign to single keys. So in general, this language, which I show here in these red boxes, it lives in the command line. The command line, which hosts this language, which you can also access with the colon key, just like in Vim. And just like in Vim and other softwares, with the tab, you might get some auto-completion of, I don't know, commands, variable names. It's not science fiction, but it can be helpful. Yeah, and this is the same language that you also use in the configuration files and scripts. So that is the FIM language. The language elements of FIM are commands, aliases, which you can customize, variables, built-in or customizable, if-while blocks, so to have a bit of control, and some special syntax like shortcut expressions or shortcut statements for some other precise things. How do I use FIM? I don't spend much time programming it or programming the usage of FIM. Most of the time I use it interactively as any other image viewer, especially to organize pictures collections like I will show later. Occasionally I use the special functionality, so what is really unique to FIM, or the command line, and quite rarely when I come up with some nice workflow which I like, yes, then I change the configuration file, or even I do an alias in the shell to reuse some special way of calling FIM, which is for me, which is customized for me. So now we will continue with this talk. I just wanted to mention that another talk which has been recorded will go into language-specific topics. That is a bit more nerdy than this. This talk here goes about the interactive usage of FIM. This is not really a tutorial, it's not really the documentation, it's a bit of a showcase, what I will be showing here. So I said FIM it's programmable, but you don't want to program it here, at least in what I'm showing you here, but still you want to use a bit of automation. And the base level of automation is perhaps to simulate a key press, right? So when you invoke FIM, and specify -k, the name of a character or of a key press, that will happen. So as you had pressed that key. So for R, we'll rotate. I mean, this is what will happen just after startup. Afterwards, you are in control. So with R, with rotate, with delete, we'll delete the first image from the list. With CH, Control H, we'll make help pop up, and so on. You can go further with -uppercase K, so with key combos. So if you specify -big K RA, rotate and autoscale, that will happen as the first thing when FIM starts once. So afterwards, you're in control. In Vim, I appreciate that when you're about to press a key and you prepend it with a digit or more digits, the number that you will have specified will specify also the repetition of what is about to be done. So you have this also here. Of course, now I'm showing you here the command line, but this is the interactive usage. So if you do it interactively, this is what happens. It's the same interpreter who processes this. Yeah, but there's also the dot modifier in Vim, and also here, that instead of repeating twice a particular command, you can add a dot after what you have just done, and it will just repeat the last action. So plus dot, it's like plus plus. Now, you can combine this with number syntax. So if you have, if you prepend a number to the dot will repeat the last command, that number, that amount of times. So this can spare you a bit of typing interactively, but also in this special mode here. Of course, this just applies to the last command, not to the last combo or last series of things. For more complicated things, you can use another mechanism, which is that of simply configuring your FIM.rc file, and there you perhaps bind a particular keyboard key to a special command, and then yes, you can use a repetition on that combo which you like, which is what you use, what is useful to you, and and that's the way to go. So not overcomplicate unnecessary things. Now I will show random functionality which I like in FIM, or I didn't bother looking in other image viewers. So with the double apostrophe, I have the so-called shadow directory load, let's say. So my observation is that nowadays cameras have a very high resolution. I don't need that resolution. Mostly the pictures which come from those cameras are too heavy for my purposes. So what I do is that I have a directory with reductions, which fit more or less my screen. And I have another directory with the heavy original pictures. But with FIM, I just say, hey, FIM, in that directory are the originals, the heavy originals. So be aware of this. And then FIM offers me the double apostrophe, the double quote key, which does something which I forgot what it is, but you can just check it up with the help. And that will substitute the content of the images, of the current images, with the high resolution or low resolution or whatever you have set it up. So it's a way to substitute it. Probably you can use it to create funny games or whatever, but for me it's just the purpose of substituting the low resolution image with the high resolution image. Because I like using used computers. I think there is too much garbage on this earth. And therefore, sometimes I don't need that extra heavy processing in my everyday usage. And I think this can have many uses. Another thing which is, I think, perhaps unique, maybe, it's a simple key to jump between the last view and the current view. Why? Because sometimes I watch 100 pictures, I do a selection of the few pictures I really like, and I jump between them because I want to see, I don't know, a certain detail from one side, from the other side. So I like to jump a lot of times between two pictures, perhaps to catch some detail, and therefore I have this key, which most of the times I would say retains the position you were and the scaling. So it's really for comparing things. I find it useful, especially in combination, as I said, with the short listing functionality, which allows you to make selections, to shorten the selection of pictures. Now, another random functionality is the one of conversion pipelines. Sometimes you want to load things which are not properly pixel images, like SVG files or PDFs or PostScript files. There are a few built-in defaults in FIM which will invoke that external program to convert it in something that FIM can view. So this enlarges the set of picture formats which you can watch under FIM. Extending this idea, perhaps sometimes you want to view all of the images which you are about to load with one specific filter pipeline. Here I have shown convert with charcoal filter and put a label on the bottom. Yeah, you can specify that to FIM when you start it, and all of the pictures which you will see that in that session will be filtered according that way. I don't know what this is useful for. Previews, making fun, you choose it. But the point is, if you don't screw up this expression, you will not write to any file, so just temporary files will be modified. You can interact with different programs in different situations. Sometimes you can use the exclamation point syntax to call an external program, and then with that external program that gets its output. Okay, it's not that useful. But still, if you go the dangerous way, you're not afraid. You create an alias, which maybe calls in the end EXIF tool, and you say EXIF tool, please remove the EXIF data from the file which I'm just watching, because you can specify that file as an internal variable. Yes, you will modify the current file, which is dangerous. You should not do it, but if you really want and you are automating some nice, useful workflow, you can do it. I have warned you. Okay, did you know that with FIM you can even load files from a file name list? Okay, this sounds boring. Sounds boring, but maybe it's nicer if you learn that with FIM you can write files with the file name and a description. Okay, maybe it could be even useful in a few situations. In my case, I find it useful, or I like it, because FIM has a few captions in different parts of the displayed window, let's say. And there are a few variables with expando codes, so like percentage and something. So you can customize them. You can view, I don't know, the comment, the description, which I said before, or other information. So you can customize it a bit the way you want it. You can have in this description file internal variables. So just for the purpose of giving attributes to the files you're about to have in the list. So not only the descriptions, but also attributes. So the Bill will be in the category businessman. Aaron, Asbesto, Bram, and Richard will be in the category activist. So they will inherit. They will inherit this. Those attributes. Furthermore, there are some shortcut syntaxes which prepend text to this description or allow referring to specific variables in those descriptions for the purpose of making them shorter. What you can use it for, apart from the caption? Well, you can use them also for searching a picture in the file list, in the list. So with the goto command, or you use a special slash or question mark syntax, not command line, but search line, to search and to jump directly to a file which has a description that way. So if you manage your file, your pictures collection nicely, it can be useful. For me, it's nice because I have my pictures tagged that way, and I'm happy with that. Or I have custom collections of pictures that way for my own amusement. Yes, so you have this goto command, which you can use also in other ways, like jumping or controlling it to jump according to the values of those property variables. Or you can use this goto to jump to the next directory, for instance. If you load like 1,000 files in different directories where you don't know exactly where they are, you can use goto and something very specific which you find in the manual, and this will jump to the next directory inside what is being loaded there. So there are many shortcuts, let's say, for doing very specific jumps according to your workflow, because this is to adapt the way you wish to organize your stuff. And of course, if you have different specifications to the goto command, the first one which matches the jump will do the jump. Before the session is over, I wish to say the limit functionality, which I took from Matt, I find it also useful because you can shrink the collection. For instance, I have around 20,000 pictures in my collection, in my photograph collections, but I can limit them, for instance, to city equal Brussels or something like this, which is useful to me. In this case, you see that we have shortened the collection, the pictures list from the total 5 to 4, which matches category equal activist. Yeah. Further, the limit command can shrink the list according to duplicate base file names or the date of the files or the size of the files. The base idea of FIM is that you use it interactively. You have a few aliases which you perhaps sometimes customize and assign to specific keys which you like to have. Yeah, and you write this in the configuration file, and you perhaps share it with others. And you just remember the command by heart, the commands which you use every day. And that's all. So FIM at the moment, I will be releasing the 0.6 after 15 years, the 0.6 version in a few days. The tarball is out there. I have to do some promotion, and especially I have to say, give the next version to the Debian guys. So there is the version on Debian and everywhere else is old, but we'll update it soon. The manual has everything, so everything is written there. And I hope you enjoy FIM and perhaps watch the other recording with more nerdy language aspects. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
You're early. So we have some time for questions. Is there any questions on the floor? Yes.
Yeah, so the collection stuff sounds particularly interesting. Can you update the collection from FIM itself? So while you're watching it, you tag an image so that while you're watching images, you update your collection from within FIM somehow?
Perhaps. At the moment, I don't have this. You write a text file in your
the question because they don't hear
The question was whether FIM, as I have written organizer, picture organizer, I wrote it correctly. No, it was a mistake. FIM is not an organizer. You have to organize the files by yourself with a text editor.
We have an online question here, if you can read it.
Thank you for the talk. Is there a way planned to have a way for FIM to script a small step-by-step animation of the actions? Maybe some sort of sleep between the actions. Yes, there is a functionality which is called recording out or something like this. So after you exit FIM on the standard out, in a specific file, actions and commands, and timings will be spitted out. So there is a sleep command which says sleep, I don't know, 3/4 of a second, something like this. So yes, the answer is yes.
Question on the floor?
the descriptions are stored in the same image file? Are they stored like metadata in other files? Can they be read by EXIF tool?
What I have shown here was just the plain things you write in a textual file.
Okay, so in a TXT.
Apart from this, the EXIF tags from JPEGs, or I don't know, I think in other places also you get EXIF data, but at least from JPEGs, are being read, and they become internal variables inside FIM, because I really like to have some particular JPEG EXIF data being displayed in the caption, and that occurs there. Actually, also PNGs and also JPEGs without EXIF have commands. This also drift here. Yeah, so there are different. I don't think I'm covering everything, but as soon as I learn of some extra metadata, I integrate it in internal variables associated to each file. I have one extra slide. If
Any other question, maybe?
in case.
Maybe I didn't have understand so much. The result of the modifying this file is
Modifying which file?
Of the original file is then storing to another file.
We don't modify any file with FIM.
Okay.
If you do it, it is a mistake.
Okay. Okay.
There was one example where I was saying you can write programs to modify the file, but most of the times you don't want this.
Okay.
But if you really want it, you can.
If the file is changed on disk, will FIM reload it automatically, or will it wait for you?
I think there is such a functionality. Maybe the question is, if you are stuck on a picture and the picture changes, will the FIM reload it? There is some functionality to detect this. I'm not sure if at the moment it's a default. In principle, it's like 2 lines of code it's easy to implement this. I think this is for picture frame situations where many people use FIM for picture frames. I'm not happy with that. I wish people to use it interactively, but yes, that's possible. If you want, I have one extra slide.
Yeah, sure.
So with FIM, you can even play the little steganographer or the little forensic investigator by using the offset switch or the seek magic internal variable, which do nothing else than saying, hey, please, don't seek for the image at byte 0. Seek between here and here. The picture is there in the file. So you can use this for looking for the signatures within the file, which maybe is broken. Maybe there are a few files which you can concatenate it for some reasons. Maybe it's a tar archive, which actually. Sorry?
I have an example of this. So if you look at your Chrome cache, Chrome browser history cache, you have binary files which are a concatenation of HTTP headers and image file. And right now I'm using EXIF2 to find the byte offset and then using an image viewer to view the file. But I would try FIM with it.
Yeah, so FIM is.
It's the same thing.
So the question is, the observation is actually, apart from maybe seeking into broken file systems that way, you can even just look into the certain configuration files or certain cache files, like the one from the Chrome browser, because there are some special custom file formats where a proper file is pushed down into another file.
The image and the HTTP response headers in the same file.
Yeah, there are encodings, let's say, where simply you have a picture, but it's not cannot be immediately seen. But with this, you can, with functionality which like jumps or seeks, looks for a file, perhaps with a signature, can locate it. Yeah.
Okay, the last question. We don't have any online. Question on the floor? Yeah? Over there? No? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Michele.
Thank you.